Welcome to the JP Podcast. I'm your host, John.
I'm your co-host, Tom.
And today's show is going to be with Erik Seidel. He's pretty much, I'm going to say, like a master of this Marvel Universe, DC Comics, and everything like that. Now, I don't follow it hardcore as far as reading the comics or anything like that. But if I do have any questions, he's the guy I turn to, and I give him a call and he answers all kinds of questions. So I asked him to come on the show and he said, yeah. So I was really excited about that, and you were saying some stuff as, when we were talking beforehand.
Yeah, I'm probably at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to knowledge of anything of comic books or DC or Marvel, but I have watched movies. I haven't seen anything recent, but I do have all my close friends. I mean, I'm probably the odd one out in this atmosphere as far as comic books and comic movies, and the DC world and Marvel world are as big as they've ever been and just getting bigger. So it's time for me to hop on the bandwagon.
Yeah, for me, it's I just watched the movies. I do not read the comic books, but I reached out to him and he said, yeah, let's do this. And originally, Happy New Year, by the way, but originally we were supposed to have a sit down and everything like that, but this COVID is still going strong. Mm-hmm. and I didn't want to chance anything. So we're doing another Zoom podcast style. So, let's reach out to him. I'm going to, send the invite now, and then let's get started. Okay, welcome back, and we have on the show Erik Seidel. Erik, thank you very much. Welcome to the show, and we're really, really excited and happy to have you on. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
So we're going to get started here. Tom and I had been talking before you came on. And I call you all the times with all kinds of questions because I have not started from the beginning. I'm more of a movie fan, and I listen to a lot of shows on YouTube, and they tend to dog on guys like me, but I don't care. I do appreciate the whole thing. It's just I have a lot of questions because I didn't follow it. Now, you've been following it for how long?
I got my first comic book when I was 8, so I would say for 40 years.
Wow. So that's what it takes. That him and I were talking about that. I think that's what it takes to actually know everything, to be as knowledgeable as you, is starting from the beginning and starting with the comic books. That's pretty much where you start off at. Do you find that's hard, knowing that sort of information and watching the movies at the same time?
Little things. If they change little things in the story, it doesn't really affect me much. But like if there's big plot lines, like we were talking about in Endgame, mm-hmm. The real hero of that whole comic book run was a character that they didn't even introduce. Was Adam Warlock. Mm-hmm. But the way that they did it, it was fine because like a comic book usually runs right around 800 books, and then it starts over. So usually when it starts over, every writer has a different spin on the characters that they're writing. So some of them change little things here and there, but it's not a big deal.
Okay.
So what you're saying too, and that's something new for me. Like John said, I'm probably even less than that. I watch the movies, but I'm not even up to date on those. Mm-hmm. But you're saying in comic book world, after 800 books or whatever, it just starts refreshed, then the next writer can take over.
Yeah, so they call them volumes. They break up the comic books into eras. So golden era is like the 40s, 50s ish, then silver, and then so now they just we're just current now. So like every story has an arc, and when that arc is finished, a new writer takes over and they put their spin on the character. And there's some things that they can't change, but a lot of things it's very little tweaking that they do to to make the story for other people.
And a little quick detail, just for my curious thought. What was your first comic book?
It was a comic book. It was called Bagger Rant's Roach Extraordinaire. It was in a quarter bin, and it was a ripoff of Star Wars, but told as cockroaches. And
that's what started the whole thing, huh? That's the one that started it.
Yeah, because after that I wanted to read more, and then reading comic books, it also opens yourself up to read other stories that aren't graphic novels, in the real books, and and it just like kind of Harry Potter did. When Harry Potter books, every kid was reading Harry Potter, so it's like.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mentioned to John. Was I have a buddy who I said the same thing. It's just he wasn't much of a reader, but then you get into the comic books, he got into that, and then he hit into the Harry Potters, and it turned him into more of a novel type book. You know what I mean? Which was interesting to see. Like, it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, I'm not real big on, they got to stay true to the comic books. Some of them do in certain stories. Like if you look at the X-Men Dark Phoenix, when Wolverine was going to try to kill her and she was blowing him back and his skin was coming off. That's like almost scene by scene from the comic books. And that really got me. I'm like, because it brings you back to a feeling of when you were reading it. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you like watching the movies? Do you think, do you like watching them from the beginning? Do you think they did a good job as far as how they're going along the timeline of doing this?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely doing it right. I mean, Marvel is going to be cashing in for the next 20, 30 years, however long people are. Eventually, maybe they'll get tired of comic book reading or comic book movies, and but if that's what's hot, they're going to keep with it. And there's tons of storylines that they can get into, new characters or characters that we know brought back as someone differently. There could be a lot to take in, especially as the whole multiverse takes place inside the Marvel universe.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and my wife always gets mad at me because even though I have Disney Plus, if it's on TV, I'll watch it, because just from watching things on YouTube or even talking to you, I'm picking up things that I missed, and I could be watching the same movie 6, 7, 8 times, and I'm still picking up stuff that I didn't know existed, or that you turned me on to, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like I was watching Endgame, and you had mentioned about the disturbance under I think it was Africa. It was
under the water.
Yeah,
that they were reporting on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw that last night. I'm like, yeah, I kind of didn't pay attention to that. Also, Black Panther, I have to go back. I've been trying to watch. It's been on TV lately, but I don't know why. But I missed a lot of the plot stuff there. So I'm going back, and it's on my list to rewatch that completely and stay tuned to pick up all the stuff. Because Eric and I had talked a couple of days ago, and he was blowing my mind. It was crazy.
Is that one of the things you enjoy about these the comic book movies, is seeing not only the differences but what they stay true to, and then also the little nuggets they give you for the next one? Is that? I mean,
it's definitely fun for me to see, because prior to the Iron Man movies, the only really Marvel movies that they did was Blade. Then you had the Batmans. Then you had the Incredible Hulks, and they weren't really anywhere near what the movie, like the comic book, was. Spawn was really good, but I definitely catch up on all the little Easter eggs that they hide in all their movies, and then it gives me a hint, like, oh, where are they going with this? And the Russo brothers are very good at putting a lot of Easter eggs in. They throw a lot in there, and hopes that maybe later on they can come back to that point and do there.
Yeah. See, now he explained to me, we were talking, and he started talking about Blade, and I was like, what? I thought Blade was just a character. I thought it was just a vampire series, you know. I didn't know he was part of that. So I was like, wow, you know, I loved it, you know. So when he's telling me about all these characters, because I ask him a lot, not only about stuff like that, but the spin-offs, how would you say it, the little side shows that they have going on, Loki, the Captain America one.
Stories.
No,
like
it's
all the backstories.
Like
all the miniseries on just
yeah.
Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
Yes, my favorite right now is Hawkeye. I'm loving it, you know, because he doesn't really have any powers, but he's like a really trained individual at everything. So I'm loving that. So he was explaining to me the different people in there, and I was like, wow, you know, this is awesome. You know, Loki was great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm loving Hawkeye.
Yeah. And it's pretty interesting to hear you talk. And then, you know, you mentioned bringing up memories and stuff. The second you said Spawn, I forgot how much I really liked that movie back in the day. I completely forgot about that. And I remember going to watch it only because John Leguizamo was in it. And if you remember our episode with Angel, the comedian, we talked about John Leguizamo and how he was inspirational back then. And I remember that movie coming out and going to watch it, and I didn't even realize that was part of the Marvel or DC world. I didn't know any of that. So,
well, Spawn is Image.
Okay.
It's like a kind of a different publisher. So there's a lot of different publishers that produce storylines. Ones that are really hot right now is Bad Ideal. They have all these crazy storylines and things like that. So they intertwine with other stories here and there, but he's more Image. Todd McFarlane is killing it with that, and you know, he's doing a good job, and he's independent.
So what's your personal favorite? What do you connect with the most? Is there a certain comic series or
I mean, I really like my favorite. Usually people get mad at me when I say this, but I'm a very big Guy Gardner supporter.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah. He is the third Green Lantern of the Earth. He is very rough and sometimes racist. But after all that, you have to know that the Ring still chose him. So the Ring knows how better he is inside. So he was my favorite for a while. I really like Constantine.
I do like Constantine, yeah.
When I was younger, I collected just mainly DC because all the Marvel stuff was kind of cheesy and, you know, bubblegum flavored, and where DC had real stories, and Marvel had some too, but I was more DC. So I was, you know, Hawkeye, which is Green Lantern in that universe, you know, Batman, who, you know, so I kind of stuck with them for a while, but then I got into all the Marvels and stuff like that as I went on.
So you're enjoying, but you are enjoying the Marvel stuff that's been coming out, right?
Yeah. The DC stuff was all garbage except Zack Snyder's Justice League. That was very good. Yeah, I just think DC needs to get on the right page and kind of do like Marvel does, and you know, there's big things coming in the Marvel universe. Really big things.
Yeah. Before we go on that, let's go back to DC because yesterday I was watching some stuff on comics and everything like that, and I saw this Black Adam with The Rock. So I was really learning about that. I was like, I don't even know who this guy is, and I was learning about that. You think that's going to be a good movie as far as when it comes out?
It all depends on how they do the magic portraying in the movie. So like Black Adam was a pharaoh from long ago, and he was the original Shazam. So, but then he got imprisoned because he was basically his city, I think it's called Condor or something like that, and he was kind of ruling it kind of like Doctor Doom. this is my city. I'm going to protect it and defend it against everything. So it all depends on how they do that. All the CGI stuff, you didn't really see that much of it in the Shazam movie, but they're going to be fighting, and that's why in the one scene of Shazam, the last seat was left open because that was Black Adam. He was kicked off the council.
Wow. And that's also why they showed a cameo of Superman at the end. They were saying that because Shazam and Superman do work together once in a while, according to them. I don't know if it's true or not, but I was watching that. I'm like, I'm just like, I'm excited to see that because I do like the DC, but it doesn't seem like they have been putting anything good out lately.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see them fight, but like a lot of people don't realize, like Superman for a long time couldn't do nothing with magic. If you were a magic character, you could just own Superman.
What does that mean? For a naive guy.
Okay, so like for example, there's a character in DC. His name is Mr. Mxyzptlk. He's an imp from the fifth dimension. He's mad. He could do magic, and he comes to Earth every 30 days just to mess with Superman because he thinks it's funny. He takes his nose off him. I mean, he does all kinds of weird things. And the only way to beat him is Superman has to trick him to saying his name backwards. And then he says his name backwards and he goes. But like magic characters could totally destroy Superman because he was just crazy. It was like he had nothing to defend on it because in Krypton, science and magic were the same thing. So Shazam or Black Adam would just tear up Superman. So much later in the comic book series, Constantine created a spell to protect him from magic. And it's just one of those things that if he didn't have that spell, Black Adam would mess him up. I mean, that's why they had magic characters in the Justice League because they knew that was Superman's biggest weakness was magic.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed they didn't have a Constantine 2 or 3, because I love Keanu Reeves. I think everybody does, but every time Constantine comes on, I watch it. That to me is my kind of stuff. I like watching that, the demonic, dealing with God and everything like that. That I actually went in to learn more about his character and all the characters within there. I loved Constantine. That was great.
Yeah, they asked Keanu Reeves if he said he would like to do that role again. The way that they did that, I mean, but there's a character. There was a series for a little while. He had his own series. This was a British guy that played Constantine, and he is the Constantine for me because he fits it with the accent and everything. Like Keanu Reeves didn't have an accent, and now in all the cartoons that they film, if they use Constantine, they use this guy. So when they find a voice that people recognize with, they stay to that character.
Yeah. What is the name of that series?
Constantine.
Really, it's a British.
No, it was in America. It was only one season because they couldn't really do a lot with it because CGI and all that stuff wasn't here now.
Yeah.
It was a spin-off on, they had a Swamp Thing series.
Okay.
And it was kind of he was a spin-off character in that. Mm-hmm. And then they brought him into his own series, but it only lasted, I think you could find it on the CW or whatnot, but it's a pretty good story. I mean, he is the portrait of, he looks like the character in the comic books too, where, Keanu Reeves had black hair. He had blonde hair. It's not a big difference on the hair color, but he played him a little bit better.
With Constantine, there's a character there, the voodoo guy, I want to say, the guy he went to.
Yep.
his place. I liked his character too, and that's what
Yeah.
got me into researching what that was all about and what his character's powers were, because I saw that he does pray, and but on the other hand, he will murder you if he has to. I really liked his character.
Yeah, that character in that, his name is Papa Midnight. He's
Papa
he's
Midnight,
like
yeah.
he's like into voodoo and all that stuff there, and that's kind of so Justice League, or in DC, they have, it's called a series, it's Justice League Dark, and it deals more along with the occult and stuff like that. You have Constantine, the House of Mysteries, Swamp Thing, Frankenstein, yeah, and they battle magic, just like in switching over to Marvel, which we were talking about, the Midnight Suns. So the Midnight Suns is kind of the occult side of Marvel, where you had, originally it was Blade and two different versions of the Ghost Rider. Well, then, so
Yes.
now there's many, like Doctor Strange is a part of it. Moon Knight was a part of it. Moon Knight's a very good character, that they're introducing. So they have the occult side too, that they deal with, just spells, magic, demons, other things like that. They kind of deal with that.
Is that part of the Eternals also?
No, the Eternals are themselves. So the Eternals are just like people with special powers that should have been protectors. And I know you said you didn't see the Eternals movie, so I don't want to drop any spoilers on you, but at the end credit scene, they introduce two characters. One they show, and the other one, he's just talking. And the one talking is Blade. So that's where they introduce Blade. You don't see him, you just hear him, and the guy's going to grab the ebony blade, and Blade says, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
Wow. No, you do have to watch everything. Like when I watch all these the little shows on the side, I forgot what it's called again, but the spin-offs, I want to say, you do have to watch through the credits, because at the end, at the final 10 seconds, there might be something there that you would miss if you don't do that. So I do love that part about it, and I'm excited to see Blade coming on. And I was watching the Ghost Rider too. I didn't know much about him besides just the movies. I was watching about his strength and his powers and everything like that. And we had talked a little bit about it, and that's another character I absolutely love. I'm excited about this whole Marvel universe. Do you see a big Avengers movie coming back up again?
Yeah, I think there's going to be planetary issues, like in Loki, you had at the end, you had the guy that was actually running the TVA, and he's played, I can't remember his name, but he played in the movie, in the HBO series, Lovecraft Country, and he also just played in that Netflix movie where he was part of like a cowboy gang. But in that character, he plays a different version of a bad guy, a variant of a bad guy or good guy. It all depends. And he's going to be Kang the Conqueror. So they're kind of setting everything up. Every movie is probably going to go into a life-threatening or universe or planet-threatening instance, and that's where eventually they'll probably come all back together. Okay. I think the next time you see an Avengers movie, it's going to probably be with a lot of different characters. I think right now Disney is kind of doing it smart, where you're going to probably see a young Avengers movie before you see another Avengers movie.
Okay.
Just because they've already introduced a bunch of the characters for the Young Avengers. And so like there's there's big guys coming. I mean, we're going to see probably Kang the Conqueror first. Then we're probably going to see Galactus. I'm hoping that they do a Secret Wars, where the Secret Wars is where there's the Grandmaster and the Collector. They're always battling each other out of games of chance, betting and things like that. And one of them abducts the Avenger people, and the other one takes X-Men and all that, and they have to battle on this planet. And in that time, they're replaced on Earth by Skrulls. So nobody knows. And it's a pretty interesting story. I mean, I would imagine you're going to have a couple more Doctor Strange movies, because a lot of these characters are going to age out of the role. Like Dave Bautista didn't want to play Drax no more because he was like, I'm 60 years old and I want to wear a T-shirt.
Yeah.
So
that's too bad.
I mean,
I like his character too. Yeah, you were talking about the Skrulls. And I don't know if you were making a prediction off the comic books or you were just saying in general, you think the Skrulls, which are shapeshifters, right? You think a lot of them were in these movies that we're going to find out later. Was that a prediction or was that something?
I think it's going to be a way to bring them in there because we already know that Nick Fury was replaced by a Skrull because he was up on the ship, kind of running things or whatever, but he was up on the ship. So how many other people were, be real people or a Skrull? So like in the Skrulls, they're really big into the Fantastic Four series because they create a Super Skrull, which a Skrull, when he takes over your being you, he steals your powers and everything. He can mimic everything.
Wow.
So they created a Super Skrull that collectively has all the powers of the Fantastic Four.
Wow. And
they're going to be there. I think you're going to see Chris Evans come back being this 616 Earth. He's going to be Johnny Storm.
Wow.
In the Fantastic Four.
Wow, that's good.
Because they already touched down on replicants and different versions and stuff like that. So I mean, you may see it. I mean, I know everybody loves them as Captain America. The roles that are currently filled in the Avengers, like I said, they're getting kind of aged out. So they got to kind of go a bit younger and just to get the stories back. I wouldn't be surprised in a few years we see Thanos pop back up. You know?
Yeah, I like to see something with Natasha coming back. I'm hoping either through the Loki series, seeing how that deals with time and everything like that. But I either like to see it or I have a feeling we're going to be seeing her come back some way, somehow.
I hope so. I mean, a lot of people on the internet said that they did her wrong. They promised her a series and her movie was garbage.
I liked it though. I get it. It was garbage, but I get it, so I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, there were some things that were pretty cool, but like they changed the whole Taskmaster, who that was, and they changed a bunch of stuff in there that you didn't really see, but they showed you the Soviets version of the Super Soldier Force.
Yep. And then they also introduced her sister, which she ends up in Hawkeye. I hope this isn't spoilers for anybody, but if you watch them in order, it's awesome how you start seeing all this. And usually that's when I see something like that, and I'll call Eric like, hey, what does this mean and what does that mean? And it's too bad. I got to start calling him outside of work because he tells me all kinds of things, and I'm just blown away by. I really should follow it, but this is the way I've actually followed it my whole life. Is I had a stepbrother or I had a guy at another job that would tell me about things, but now finding Eric and listening to him, it's amazing because I don't want to read the comics.
Yeah.
I don't have the time.
Yeah, and you don't have to. I mean, the way that they're doing it, you don't have to read the comics, and I think that's what's getting a lot of younger kids now back into comics.
Yeah.
Is the movies, and they want to see other characters, and they want to see different places, and they're going to pick up different comic books and be introduced to, new versions of heroes and villains.
Yeah, like them killing off Tony Stark's. That was a heartbreaker. I didn't really like Iron Man. He was okay, but by the end of Endgame, after all that series, Iron Man was definitely one of my favorite characters in that universe there, and I loved it. But there's more with him. I saw maybe they were working on things. Who ends up filling that role? Is it his wife or his daughter or something like that?
Well, I think his daughter is going to fill the younger version. She's going to be like Ironheart, I think.
Okay.
But in the comic books, he's kind of replaced by a character named Riri Williams. She's a girl. She's a young girl. A couple people try to act like Iron Man, but they're not. He definitely had a brilliant mind. I mean, by far not the most intelligent in the Marvel universe, but he was right up there. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, you're going to see a lot of different. Like you're going to probably see 3 different Thors in the God of Love, Thor, Love and Thunder, his new movie coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the bad guy in that movie, his name is Gore, and he's a god killer or god butcher. He kills gods.
Wow.
And in the comic book, it takes 3 Thors to kind of beat him. And
Wow.
we already seen the one Thor, and I think they're going to go with Jane Foster's Thor. She's going to be the female Thor, and because she takes up the mantle of Thor at a point in time, and it's kind of messed up because being Thor kills her like cancer. So she's slowly dying, but she's, the female version of Thor. And then they'll probably introduce Beta Ray Bill in Thor Ragnarok. His head was one of the statues that was on the castle. He's like the horse head looking thing.
Now I got to watch that all over again. You know what I mean?
For that.
Yeah, I mean, they hide little things in movies that it's like, you're like, wow, that is just like, they're very good at doing it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to go to talk about how you said the younger kids are getting into it with the movies and not necessarily. I have a buddy who their favorite thing is Spider-Man, and they just went and watched the new Spider-Man on Christmas Day and fell in love with it, and they've actually went back and watched all the other Spider-Man since then. And I mean, his daughters are 16 and 12 years old, so it's something that they, exactly what you said, they had no interest in comics books or anything like that, and then they went and watched one movie, and from what I hear, this new Spider-Man's pretty good.
I would say it by far, it's probably, other than the Infinite Gauntlet, Endgame, those 2 movies, it is by far the best for comic book, for me, being a comic book hero. To see all 3 Spider-Mans and the mention of a 4th Spider-Man is just like great, because like in the one point where, well, I don't want to spoil it because I don't know if everybody's seen it, but to see all the 3 Spider-Mans fighting together is very, like, wow. It's something that it just touches you in a certain spot, and like, because you waste.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, because you're bought into all these other storylines, and Tobey Maguire is the best, Andrew Garfield's the best, Tom Holland's the best. So you see them all fighting and interacting together. It's a special movie.
I'm catching that through the previews. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not. That guy was with Tobey Maguire's version, you know what I mean? So I was like, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe with the multi-universe and everything like that, it has something to do with that. So I was wondering, and now I got to go see that too. But I was telling you, I don't like to go to the movie theater because I want to be able to pause it. And then, I missed something, and rewind it a little bit, and I'm just afraid being at the movie theater, I'm going to miss something. And then, I have to wait, either watch it again or, you know what I mean? So that's what I don't like. But Spider-Man was originally DC.
No, he was always Marvel.
Always Marvel. I always thought he was DC. So how are they doing that? You're saying making a crossover between that, or are they not? Am I wrong on that?
No, I don't think they're ready to do a crossover yet between the two companies. But going back into the comic book history, it could have been possible because in the early 90s, DC was going bankrupt. Stan Lee almost bought DC, like all their likenesses, everything. So he would have owned DC at the time, and then we would have been able to see a lot of different characters together. But he didn't. I mean, for whatever reason, early 90s comics were hot, but they were kind of static because there wasn't really a whole lot going on until like Jim Lee started doing X-Men and things like that, and they turned themselves around. But yeah, they're not gonna cross over with DC. Like you're talking about staying at home and watching the movie. I'm doing that with the Eternals because I've already seen one plot on YouTube, and I really wasn't too happy about it because the way that they did it is just kind of makes you think about, because it's the whole point of the Celestials. They're supposed to protect the planet, and we all know that the blip happened when Thanos snapped his fingers. Where were they at?
Yeah. I watch a lot of stuff on that. Do you watch anybody in particular on YouTube, or you just randomly watch different opinions?
I randomly watch a lot, just a bunch of different ones.
Okay.
Yeah, just here and there, different ones going through.
Now, X-Men, you were mentioning, that's part of Marvel? Okay, so they can do.
You're gonna see. Yeah, you're gonna see. Like I was telling you before, I would say you're probably gonna see your first mutant, probably in. Well, we already know Wanda is a mutant, but now she's not a mutant. You're probably gonna see in Black Panther 2. You're gonna see Storm introduced.
Okay.
Because she lives in the same place.
Okay.
She was worshipped as a goddess in Africa, and her and T'Challa are going to get married and all this. But I think that's probably going to be your first set of seeing.
And you say introduced, but once again, naive. So Storm, I thought she was in the X book already. I thought we already seen her as Halle Berry or.
But I'm talking about in the current Marvel universe. They don't have there's no mutants and everything like that, and they're there, but they're not talked about. Whatever, they're there. So in that, how they set up in Endgame, where they said there was a small seismic disturbance, in the middle of the ocean, that's going to be Prince Namor and Atlantis, and Wakanda and Atlantis are enemies. They fight each other, so you're going to probably see Storm in that. Other than, I really can't see any other ones coming out anytime soon. I mean, the Scarlet Witch series, I thought that you were going to at least see Magneto because, that's his daughter. But, there was a lot. I didn't like WandaVision. There was a lot of things that didn't make any sense in WandaVision.
WandaVision was very hard for me. I actually started the first episode and I couldn't make it through, and I stopped. I went to Erik, and Erik said, no, keep watching. You got to get into like the third episode. And I did. I ended up liking it because the way it seemed to me is it was like wasn't even a part of the Marvel universe. It just seemed like it was going to be like a comedy show. I didn't know what to expect. It was weird, but then then you get why they're doing it that way, and it became good for me.
Yeah, the main thing that it's not the main thing. So in that series, you had the other witch, Agatha Harkness, and in the comic books, she was the babysitter for Fantastic Four. When Reed and Sue would have to go on missions, they would leave the baby with her. You know, so they kind of use her as a different point. It's not a big deal. You know, I mean, who knows what she was doing before this, but it showed you the power of Wanda, and that power is just if they end up doing, there's a series, a whole storyline. It's called The House of M, and in that series, she's grieving because she lost her children. They died, and it was because of mutants. So she just says, "No more mutants," and all the mutants are gone. There's only a few mutants that remain, and they set up. You know, it just sets up a bunch of whole different line story. It was a good series.
Yeah. It sounds like it. Not getting off the subject or anything like that. Do you follow anything else? Like, do you follow Star Wars?
Yeah, Star Wars and Harry Potter are the same thing. I tell my niece that all the time. If you look at Harry Potter and compare it to Star Wars, the stories are pretty much the same.
Really?
there was a young child that's supposed to be to save everybody, and yeah. So I mean, I like the Star Wars. I mean, I like the newer ones. For some reason, I liked Jar Jar Binks. Everybody else hated him.
Yeah.
And I am strictly on the bandwagon that Jar Jar Binks was an evil Sith Lord.
Really?
Yes. Just because there's something on YouTube, you could check it out, and there's a theory that he is a Sith Lord because whenever he's doing stuff, he does it with his hands. He causes chaos everywhere he goes. So it's like that's one of the biggest plot links, you know, of that like fan theory or whatever. Well, I watch like if I don't have nothing to do, I've seen every episode in every season of Ancient Aliens.
Okay.
And went down the rabbit holes on many different conspiracy theories. You know, Bigfoot, aliens, who killed Kennedy, like all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I like other movies. I mean, I prefer to watch. I watch a lot of independent films.
Okay.
So like now on Netflix, they have all these non-English speaking movies, and you gotta get past the
Subtitles.
that they're not speaking English.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're incredible. Like all the martial art ones, the action is incredible. But yeah, there's the voices that really get you every once in a while. But yeah.
How about The Matrix? Did you follow The Matrix?
I liked The Matrix. The new movie, not so much.
Oh, it sucked. I was so disappointed with that.
So that's one of the only series that I actually, I won't say I'm knowledgeable about, but I do understand where it's coming from. I've watched since day one and all that. My best friend, who we watched them all together, it was all grown up, that's our era. He went and seen number 4, and he convinced me it's literally one of the worst movies, and it actually might have hurt the franchise more than helped it at all.
I only got halfway through it, but an interesting story about that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that the writer of The Matrix and Terminator are written by the same person. The Warner Brothers stole her story and made the movie. She ended up suing them and got like $45 billion. But she did an interview where she said that they are written to be both in the same universe. John Connors is Neo. Skyline is the future robots using Earthings as battery. They come back. They're trying to. I mean, so it's. But yeah, the fourth one is just, it's hard to watch because it's just.
Yeah.
It is. They put too much in there, and they try to cover everything. It was just, wrong. Just do it over.
Yeah.
And from what I'm hearing too, it was very they touched bases on all the movies, and they might have done that a couple times too many. But the part that ruined it was the action scenes. It actually looks like they went backwards when in the action moments of this movie. It actually seems like they got worse. Matrix 1 was better action wise than this one, so that sucks.
Speaking about movies going backwards, have you seen the movie Tenet?
No,
I have not.
It's in theory it's a good movie, but if it's on HBO, you can catch it. For some reason, the guy wanted to be artsy. I can't remember who did it, but the music background is so loud you could hardly hear what they're saying. But the whole movie is set in the future, and the characters are going forwards, but they're not really. They're actually going backwards through the movie. It's a crazy movie. Check it out. It's on HBO.
I'm gonna check it out.
If you can get past the music, because he said he wanted to do something with the audio, because that's the audio that is supposed to connect with people, but it's you can't hear them talk really good. So you have to have subtitles on. But yeah, it's they do some pretty interesting things in there.
What else you've been into that you would recommend?
I mean, there's just so much. I mean,
how about make a prediction for the Marvel Universe? Where do you see it all going? And then we can go on to DC after that.
I think in Marvel, I can't see which one is going to be first, but I think we're going to see Kang the Conqueror first, because he's already been introduced. Galactus is going to be after that. There's a couple other villains, bad guys. I'm really psyched to see Doctor Doom come back, and I hope they do him well. Doctor Doom is one of my favorite. I don't consider him a villain, but he is, I guess. But I can't wait to see him. So you're gonna see in the multiverse. You're gonna see Kang the Conqueror. He's probably gonna be the next big thing, the next big event that people are gonna have to fight with. They'll probably do a team up with the Eternals and things like that. But like I said, the Eternals, to me, I didn't really like the movie because of how they introduced everybody, and the one major thing that they never really touched on, because in Thanos is a deviant. He carries the deviant gene, which is he's the same as an Eternal. His parents were Eternals, so that means Thanos is an internal. And the whole theory of the Eternals is they were told to only intervene when deviants were involved. Well, Thanos is a deviant. Where were you at during the blip? You were nowhere.
Right.
So I mean, I like the Eternals because, like, just for Jack Kirby, did all the artwork in the Eternals, and his artwork is like 70s psychedelic, kind of like bold colors, and the Eternals themselves are okay. But yeah, I see next big villain is probably going to be Galactus, or I'm sorry, Kang the Conqueror. They're going to probably introduce other people along the way. Like, I think in the Loki series, one of the characters that is going to end up being that we're going to realize that he is somebody else. The next thing you're going to see Kang the Conqueror, because they've already introduced him. But then another character that they kind of slept on from the Loki series that you're probably going to see, and I think that's how you're going to how the Ghost Rider is going to come about.
Okay.
Is Mephisto. Mephisto is he's like the devil. He has his own realm, and when they were in the church, the very first scene where they were in the church, and he's looking up at the window. They had like a saint there or whatever, and the one TVA guy says, "Yeah, we've been looking for him for a while." So I think
what show is that?
it was in the Loki series.
Oh,
the first
okay.
episode when they were in the church, and he had the bubble gum, and he looked up at he looked so I think in that brain, I think that Luke Owen, or whatever his name is, the guy from the show with the nose, I think he's actually Mephisto.
Really?
That's my theory. And then King the Conqueror is going to come from that, and like there's just because with the multiverse, he's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So like we were talking about comics and them running. So this is I don't know if you can see it. This is Spider-Man 700.
Hold it up a little bit higher. Perfect.
So
Man,
this is
cool.
So this is graded. It has special drawing on here, So and this is the death of Peter Parker.
Wow.
Peter Parker dies in this book.
Jeez.
He's spoilers, but it's autographed by the artists. All the people that write it, it's autographed by them. So like when I have like a lot of my books, I send them in. I send them to get graded, and graded adds more value to it. The higher the value, the higher the grade, the higher everything. So it's like some of my books I just like have sitting out, but like a bunch of them are kind of in big like protective boxes and things like that. Like
now, you were just showing us Constantine. What is that book?
It's called Constantine City of Angels. It's a story, but it's in the oversized. It's in like a magazine form.
Oh.
So like I have like ton, like that's what I'm working on right now. I'm working on my Constantine run. So like see if I find it in here.
And you still read these books? Do you still read the books that you have, the comic books?
Well, so this is a movie I was talking about, Tenet.
Okay.
This is DC's planet. Trying to find it. I don't know where I put it, because I actually have the so on Netflix you're gonna have a show called Sandman.
I've seen it.
It's by Neil Gaiman, and that is by far my favorite series. Because it the way that it's written, he writes it really well, and there you have a couple audiobooks you could buy, but that's going to be one of the next thing on Netflix, and it's just like there's just no end to the things that they could do, the things that they could throw at you that are going to be incredible to watch.
That's awesome.
What else do you collect?
I got pops and things like that. Other than that, that's pretty much it. My wife calls my comic book collection the fancy or expensive cardboard.
Do you go to the shows and all that?
I've only been to one convention.
Yeah.
I wanted to go a couple of years ago to San Diego Comic-Con. I will go once in my life. I'll go there because it's something I want to do. But yeah, I haven't really been to a lot. So like, I still read the current runs of comics. I go and I buy them, and I read them. Like in the 90s, when I was collecting really big, I always bought two versions of the book. One that I was going to read, and one that I was going to save. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, it's like I have so many books that they're worth some money. So it's an expensive hobby if you're trying to get into it, because all the books that are first appearances and stuff like that, they cost a lot of money. I think right now it's like probably about $1,000 for the first appearance, for Deadpool's first appearance. I think that's probably the cheapest one that you could get right now as far as a milestone book. But
so in your collection, do you have maybe not the most valuable one, but your favorite one, something that means the most to you?
I have the entire Infinite Gauntlet series that they made the movie on. That, to me, I really liked how that series was written. So that's my favorite series. But like I have the first appearance of Loki. It's an old book. It's not rated really high, but it's better than not having it, So it's like but I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, I want that." So I saw an opportunity to buy it, and I bought it. And it's definitely an expensive hobby to have, and expensive to buy, keep, and everything. So it's
Do you have a guy that you approach, that you talk with, and is on your level as far as knowledge, or is it just you?
No, I don't really talk to anybody else about comics unless like you call me or whatever, or like we're watching a movie and then my kids have to hear me say, "Well, actually, this was this," and so I just tell me to shut up and don't ruin it for me, because usually right around a little bit into the movie, I could pick up on the Easter eggs and see where they're going, and like, oh, okay.
So staying along that line, is there something in a movie that just kind of, I know we talked earlier about the hair on some characters or certain accents. Is there something that you just wish they wouldn't touch as a purist, like whether it be the color of a I'm trying to think of the word.
Uniform.
Like the color of the uniform, color of their mask, anything like that changes?
Yes, but we haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
So in the Disney Channel, one of the series that they're going to put out is Miss Marvel. And Miss Marvel is a teenager who has abilities. She can make herself taller, stretch, and in the previews that they showed on there, they made her powers kind of like she was a Green Lantern. And I'm like, oh, that's, and then like also in the Moon Knight series that they showed, that's going to be coming up. See, I'm a big Moon Knight fan.
I don't even know what that is.
So Moon Knight is a character. He's Marvel's Bruce Wayne, I guess.
Okay.
Because he has no, he has powers, but he gets blessed by a god, and he has mental problems because the power is too much. So he creates multiple personalities to deal with certain issues. And, but he draws power from the moon. So when the moon is full, he's at his strongest. He's going to be one of the ones coming up on, they're going to do him in the Disney platform. I wasn't really big. I like the star that they have picked, but I don't like his first viewing of his outfit. So like, have you seen the show Teen Titans on HBO?
Yes, but not that well. I didn't follow it too much.
Yeah, a lot of people were kind of put off by Firestar's outfit. They're saying she looks like a hooker, but in the early comic books, that's what she was wearing.
Oh, okay.
So they but nothing really like that, except like I wouldn't like it with the Miss Marvel part, just because her powers aren't like that. But you can't really do all that. It's just like when they bring the Fantastic Four back, I don't know how they're going to do his stretchy skin, and that's just something that you're like, I don't know if we're there yet. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see.
Definitely.
Thank you, Eric. I really,
Yeah.
really, really appreciate this, and I'm hoping. Well, I think it'll come across and see why I reach out to Eric with any question I have on any of these movies, and it just sometimes I don't want to call him, but I call him anyways, and because I know it's going to lead me down a rabbit hole, and I got a bunch of things I have to watch now. But this was amazing. I love your knowledge in it, and I had got turned on to you by another guy at work who was asking you questions, and I didn't know that about you. We've been working with this guy. Like we said before, working with this guy, he's been there before. He was there when I got there, and never knew this about him. And it just gave me a more appreciation for you. And now it's like I got to call Eric. You know. So.
Yeah, when I was in the '80s, you know, with all my friends collecting comic books and things like that, we made up a game where you pick a superhero or a villain, and I have to pick who's going to beat you, and we'll go back and forth explaining why my character can beat your character, so on and so forth. And I've days. Sometimes we went days back and forth with how my character can beat your character, and eventually somebody else says, "Yeah, that's probably true," you know.
And I don't know if we've asked it, but one more question: who's the ultimate? Who is the guy for you or character?
It all depends on which version of the character, because every character has a version that is godlike. You know, like Superman, he eventually absorbs so much sunlight that kryptonite doesn't hurt him. He's Superman 1,000,000, and so it's like it all depends on what version. I like the Punisher. I'm a big Booster Gold fan. He's DC. He's a character from the future that stole superhero merchandise and came back to our time. And him and the Blue Beetle had a series, but I don't see him getting to him anytime soon. The Spectre, I was a really big Spectre fan. Even when Hal Jordan became the Spectre, and but yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Just like right now in their universe, the strongest being is Wanda, because she can manipulate everything.
Everyone.
You know, what she said when her mind snaps in the House of M, and she says no more mutants. That tells you how powerful she is. You know, but there's every version. Like Iron Man has a super prime version of himself. Spider-Man does. Doctor Strange does. You know, I mean, he's not the only sorcerer in Marvel, but right now he's the Sorcerer Supreme. Other people have held that role. But so it just really depends on what version it is, because there's some of them that you just can't. There's nothing you could do if they're at their full beast mode. There's nothing you could do. You know, how do you fight somebody that can change reality?
Yeah,
and you really can't. So I think that's why they're kind of dumbing down some of their powers, because like their powers are pretty up there. So like I want to see Galactus, and I want to see him. I don't know how they're going to do him, but in the comic books, Galactus' appearance changes depending on who he could be tall, he could be in really any size. So he's just portraying, his image is different to one planet versus what he is on another planet. And I would like to see him in Silver Surfer, and I would definitely like to see him do like a good Hawk movie, and I think it's coming. You know, I think they're going to do World Breaker Hawk, and that's where Hawk is at his most powerful, and you know he could punch a planet in half. But then there's also another version of the Hawk. His name is called Maestro, and he's a straight up evil version of the Hawk.
Wow.
And You know, you can't stop the Hulk. You know, I mean, the madder he gets, the stronger he gets. There's a few villains that have kind of fought him to a standstill. The most important one was probably the Juggernaut, because the Juggernaut can't be stopped, but they pretty much stopped him to a standstill. But yeah, just the movies in general. I'm just a big fan of wanting to see them, and just take my money, please. And I wish they would make them faster. You know,
I get
like
it.
they're talking about the next movie is going to be in 2024, and you're like, man, that's 2 years away now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, can't you pump them out one after another?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
you're making enough money. Just put them out. You know?
Exactly. You know, those stars don't need time off.
Nah.
You know,
to eat and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I am super thrilled about what's coming up in comics.
Mhm.
Definitely we could talk again if you want to talk alien conspiracies. I'm your man.
yeah, definitely.
Deal.
Definitely want to have you back on, because I this was one of those that I didn't know which way we're going to go with it, and Tom and I were trying to figure out a format in the beginning, and I said, let's just let Eric talk, you know, and we'll follow him. And there's much more in the head of yours, so I definitely, you're the invite, you don't need an invite, you're always welcome, and we would definitely figure out another way to have you on here and talk about all kinds of things, because I'm sure after we get past these movies, I want to do a part 2. And if anybody has any questions, you know, please put a comment there, and we're going to figure out something with his nickname is Sidewinder, but we'll have a way to have him on here and you know, answer some questions, and that maybe have an open debate or anything, because I know a lot of guys that are into it, but you know what I mean, if it comes down to a fight of knowledge, I'm gonna have to go with Eric here. You know, he knows quite a bit, you know, and I'd like to see that, you know.
40 years of experience, huh?
Oh yeah, it's no, but the other guys I know are knowledgeable also. It's just he happens to be around, but you know, you see why I go to him. I have a lot of questions, and then hopefully when my wife watches this, she'll understand why I'm watching, you know, Infinity War for the 14th time.
And now I got to watch a whole series of Sandman. Jesus.
Yeah, Sandman, Tenet.
Yeah, I got that down too.
Yeah, Tenet. You'll probably only make it halfway through Tenet, because I watched the whole thing just because I was like, I'm already invested in it. I got to see where the story goes, but. The music, the background music is just way too, so it's annoying.
Intense. Well, I just want to make sure I say that we appreciate you coming on, and I have a fascination for anyone who has a passion and a knowledge for things, and you obviously do. So I just appreciate you coming on and giving us your time.
Oh, no problem. Thanks. Yeah, have me back.
Yes, thank you, Eric. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed, you know, and we definitely plan on having Eric back on, and got to figure out a format. And Eric, you're awesome. I love your knowledge in this, and keep it up, man. You're a good guy to have around.
Thanks, man.
All right. See you guys later.
I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.
Bye.